a widescreen movie compared to a 4:3 scale television, where the bars are on the side, on the left and right, and then when you stretch it out, it looks kind of scaled out and it looks bigger than it's supposed to do. It's pretty much the same thing, because if you put in the incorrect sign height and width and put it out there, it's either going to stretch it or shrink it, and it won't look right on your sign. So you want to make note. Usually it's located on your model number, where you have a number times a number at the very end. You might be like 48 by 96, 48 by 160, 24 by 80, etc. So right now I'm just going to start with a basic 48 by 128, which is our default number. Now if it gives you this right here, default size 96, I'll show you what to change to make it a default size. So right now I got 48 by 128, which is a default number. I'm going to be working with a full color sign. Once I have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And if it gives you something like this, where it looks like it's not looking correct, what you could do is go to Option and go to Sign Properties, or Default Sign Options, and change the sign size. What that does is keeps that number for you, so just in case you forget that number, it'll keep that as a default. So it'll set it to that default all the time. So I just hit Set, and it's all set to 48 by 96 as default. So when I hit New Movie, it'll always be at 48 by 128. So always make sure that you note that number, so whenever you create your movies, it'll be formatted to fit your screen. Otherwise, if you have the incorrect number, the movie will be shrink or stretched out, and it won't look right to compare to what you make. So when you set your sign size correctly, what you're starting is a whole workspace that you have in front of you. When you look here in front of you, this is your pixel representation of your sign, which is 48 high and 128 wide. On the top here is the magnification buttons, so you could get to set closer if you want to see a closer view of your sign, or if you want to shrink it and have it go farther out. It's basically simulating as if you were standing right in front of it, like so, or if you were standing far away from it. So work with what you're comfortable with as far as viewing space. Like right here, I have it set it so it takes up most of the screen, and I'm pretty okay with that. And what you want to do is take a look at this pixelated button. This pixelated button right here gives you like a representation or a small grid of what each pixel represents on your screen. So if you hit that button here, it'll remove that. You can put it on there just to see how it looks. For me personally, I like to remove it so I get a clearer view of my message. If you take a look at it, when I hit that, you'll see that there is a grid there, but it kind of gives like a gray, cloudy look over it. So it kind of messes with my view as far as what my sign looks like. Again, it's personal preference of what you like to do. Again, I like to have it without the pixelization, so I can actually see what I'm working with a little bit better. Up top here, next to the pixelated button, is the preview buttons. So you could go to the first frame, you could go to the previous frame if you're working with multiple frames, go to the next frame, play or pause, or stop the preview. So anytime you want to preview your frame, just click on the frame that you want and hit the play button here, and it'll just play whatever you have here. Up here on the top right hand corner are animations available for each object. As I go through the program, I'll explain this a little bit more, but basically what it is when you have multiple objects on the screen, these right here allow you to have animations on your screen to make the message move around and do different things. Depending on your area, you may or may not be allowed to have animations, so you want to check with your city to make sure that you're allowed animations. If not, then you probably want to omit this section right here, but I'll explain it to you anyway to see how it works, if you're allowed to do it. Now under here is a property sheet. The way it works is with this frame, anything that you have in the frame is considered an object, and each object has its own property sheet. Basically, little details for that object that lets you manipulate different things as size, presentation, and other formatting options for that object. As I get into creating a frame and putting text on there and other objects, you'll see that this little property sheet gets populated with different things, and I can show you how they all work. So right here, again, is a property sheet. Under the main frame, you have another section here, which is a little menu bar that allows you to add different objects within the frame. As I get to creating the frame, it lets you see what I can add to the frame as far as presentation and text and such. So what this is an object selection bar that lets you put different objects in the frame. Over here is a color palette. Right now I'm working with a full color sign, so it lets me choose different colors that I want to use for different objects in the frame. When you're working with a grayscale sign, like red or yellow, you'll get different shades of white. Because remember I told you to use a white 256 shades to get you the brightest output. You'll get different shades from black to gray to white to present on your sign. Over here is just standard color palettes, like a grayscale. That's what I'm talking about right here, as far as different colors for a grayscale type sign. You have different reds, greens, and blues if you have a full color, but usually like to keep it on standard. But you have that option to change it to a different one if you wanted to. Under this here is a timeline tab. Kind of like a PowerPoint presentation. Each frame consists of a 5-second duration, which can be changed. And this timeline is a representation of that frame. So you have a ruler here that starts at 00 to 5 seconds. As you add different objects on the screen, it'll show right here what you have, along with timeline presentation, which works in conjunction with these animation objects here on the top right hand corner. So as you add more objects to the frame, you'll see it listed here, and you'll see that the different animations are showing up here in presentation functions. As I get into creating the frame, I'll explain more in the timeline, but this is what a basic timeline is set up for. Later on, when you get more into creating frames, you'll see a template folder. Right in here, you just see some basic templates that are installed when you add in the Media Editor add-on files off the CD. Again, when I create a frame and get into more of the explanation, I'll explain to you how you can create templates so it'll make it easier for you when you're creating multiple messages in the future. Next tab right here is a text edit tab. This allows you to choose the different font and size and formatting for the text that you have selected in the frame. But once I get into the frame, again, you'll see how it works, and I'll show you how the different things work here on creating the text. Over here on the left-hand side is an overview. It's basically the same way as it works as a slideshow. You start with one frame. You put whatever you want on the first frame, and you just add a frame, and it just adds to the list here. So as the more frames that you add, it'll just keep populating this list right here. So right now I only have one frame in my project. As I create more frames, you'll see that it adds on to the list on the left-hand side. Right above this overview or frame inspector window, you'll see just cut, copy, paste, add frame, delete frame, etc. As I get to creating templates, I'll explain some of these little features right here. So let's get started with creating a frame. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so let's get started. So working on a blank frame, again I have a 48 by 128 matrix size. So I'm just going to go ahead and put basic text. If I want to put text on my frame, what I want to do is look here on this menu bar right here, and you'll see that I have different objects that I could select. I could add different shapes if I wanted to. I could add different banners. If I want to add text here, I just hit this button, and you'll see that a box shows up. Now, if by chance that the box shows up, but you don't see anything there, most likely it's black on black. So you want to highlight that by going to the text edit tab right here, and then try hitting white, and you'll see that the text shows up as white. When I click on the text box, I have the ability to move it around throughout the frame. And if I want to change the color, just highlight it here and go to the text edit tab. Highlight it here, and I can choose any color that I want, or shade that I want for the text. I'll just keep it as white. If I want to enlarge the text, make sure it's highlighted, and I go to increase font size. So I just keep hitting that, and you'll see that the font size enlarges. But as you notice, my bounding box kind of stays where it's at. So I could use one of these boxes here on the corner to kind of stretch it out to have it fit the text. If I want to add another line, I could go back to the text edit tab, hit enter, and you'll see that the cursor goes down to the bottom, and it'll enter another line of text. You notice that line 2 shows up here, but it doesn't show up here. Again, I could use this box right here to kind of stretch it out to make it fit. If I feel that my text is too big, I could always highlight this and hit the decrease font size.
Excuse me, how did you get to the second line of text? Did you click something on the menu bar, or did you just hit enter?
If I want to get to the second line of text, I'll go back to put it as one line of text again.
Right.
And I just have this right here. If I want to get to the second line, I just go to the first line, hit enter.
Oh, okay.
You'll see that the cursor goes down there, and then I can type my second line of text. Like
great. Thank you. I thought you were on the menu bar. Okay.
Okay. Now, by any chance that you don't see, again, you could use a bounding box here to kind of stretch it down and bring you to second line. And you can get that second line. Now, remember I was telling you about the property sheet on the right-hand side. Each object that you have selected, right now I have the frame selected. And I look on the right-hand side, and I see duration, 5 seconds. I got a background color of black. I could change the background color here to a different color if I wanted to, by selecting the pull-down menu and choosing a different color. Or if I want to keep it as black, I could do that too. I could even use the color palette here. As long as I have the frame selected, I could choose a color palette to change the background color as well. So, but I'll keep it as black to make it easy to see. Now I'm going to go to the text and select that. You'll know you have the text selected because you have a yellow bounding box around it. And if you look on the right-hand side of this property sheet, you'll notice that the property sheet changes, and now it shows a different set of properties. And this is for the text box. So you have a type telling us it's text. The left top width and height is basically telling us the pixel matrix of what's selected. So right now it's on 21, meaning it's 21 pixels. If I move it to the left, you see that the number kind of changes as far as top and left. It just gives you the coordinates of where the box is located. It's the same thing for the height and width. If I were to increase it, this bounding box, you see that the height and width here are changing by how I set the bounding box. Now the angle too, I could change the angle of the text if I wanted to. Most of the time you probably wouldn't change the angle of the text just because you want to make it easy to read. But if you want to adjust it so the angle kind of moves around, you have that ability. So right now I have it at 3, so it's like an angle of a 3. If I want to hit 80, and you'll see that the text kind of rotates itself. But we'll keep it at 0, so it's easy to read, and you'll see that it's straight. Now the auto size feature is set to false. Remember I was telling you before when I had the one line of text? And then when I hit that second line, you'll notice that the bounding box doesn't move down and I have to adjust it manually. Some people like to have it that way, some people don't. That's why this auto size feature is selected. So if you put it to true, it'll adjust automatically for you. So for how many lines you have, it'll adjust that box. So right now I have 3 lines of text, and you'll notice that the auto size box is set to 3. So if I delete this third line, you'll notice that the box got smaller. I'll delete another line again. You'll see that the line got smaller again. So depending on how you want to have it set up, check auto size to make it true or false. So you don't have to keep adjusting the bounding box there. So if I change it to one line, I delete the second line, auto size is set to true. And you'll see that the box changes and adjusts to the text. So if I delete the text, you'll see that the box is there and adjust while I'm typing. And the size mode right here is either fit by width or fit by height or fit both. And that's talking about the yellow bounding box. If you want anti-aliasing on your text, you can do that too by hitting the smooth. It usually doesn't make that much of a difference compared to if you're using word art, which I'll show you in a bit. So this is for basic text on a frame. So if I want to enlarge the size, you'll notice that the bounding box changes as well because I have it auto size set to true. And I can change the font if I wanted to by highlighting and choosing a font here on the right or the left hand side. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far?
Yeah. How can we change the default from that sans serif to, like, say, Tahoma, so that it shows up every time instead of the sans serif as the font?
Unfortunately, I think you could only keep it as Microsoft Sans Serif, because that's usually a block lettering. That's usually the best one that shows up.
Well, when you go into the ME3 software, Tahoma is there. It is so you can't use Windows fonts.
The Windows font, whatever you have available, you should be able to use it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, can you set it up? Because when I build the lines, what's happening is that every time I build a line, I have to keep going back from the sans serif to Tahoma instead of being able to say, all right, this is why, you know.
Oh, you want to keep it as your default font, right?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
As far as full font.
Unfortunately, it only keeps it as Microsoft Sans Serif. I could check with our programmer to see if he has that ability, but as of right now, it only keeps it as Microsoft Sans Serif as a default.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions so far?
I have one. Can we highlight one word and choose different font and color for
Yeah, you can.
different font as well?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, so it's not object-oriented where it's the whole thing. You could adjust each one if you wanted to change it.
Are there any fonts your opinion, that look better than others?
I like to use Tahoma. I like to use Arial. Microsoft Sans Serif looks pretty good too. Again, it's different for everybody as far as the computer because everybody has different fonts. So you kind of want to play around with what you have to show up. Most of the default font like Microsoft Sans Serif, Arial, or Tahoma are a few of my favorites that shows up pretty well.
Okay, and bolding it also will make it a little thicker, correct?
Right.
Little.
So if you highlight it here, hit the bold button, it will make it a little bit thicker. So what you want to make sure is keep in mind the font size that you're putting along with the font. Because depending how you have your sign set up, you want to make it so it's easy to read for people that are passing by either by car or walking by. You know, so I want to keep in mind the sign setup as far as height and distance. Because if you want to make large text and use that on your sign, you want to make it so you can fit your message on there and get it so it's in one frame so you get the impact of your message on there. Because if you have too many frames on there with too much text, you might not get to the point and you might lose the customer's attention. So for instance, if I have one line of text here and this is my point, that'd be good. If you want to add more messages on there, you can add more lines of text and have it fit as much as you can by either shrinking the text size or adding more lines of text, depending how you want to have it set up. So you want to keep in mind how you want to present your message so you can get your message out there so everyone can read it easily and also get to the point of your message.
I've been told caps look better all the time on any LED signs. Do you agree with that?
I'd say caps look better. Caps do look better just because it's easier to read.
Right.
They're larger in text. So when you use it all in caps, it also it's kind of like a attention, like hello.
Right.
So it catches the eye.
Okay.
So caps usually would work well too. I'd recommend that too. A lot of the signs I've seen, they use caps on their messages too.
Okay. Are you going to go over line spacing when you have a second line?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you have that ability to do line spacing on there when you add multiple lines of text. Right now I only have one line of text. I'm pretty content with that. But let's say if I wanted to adjust the line spacing for lines, I could do that too. Let me shrink the text here. And if I want to adjust the line spacing, I have that option right here to increase or decrease the size as far as the spacing. So if I want to increase it, I just hit that. And it should increase the line spacing in between. If you want to shrink it down, you can do that by hitting the decrease line spacing and it'll shrink it down to make it closer.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, you're not limited to just the same font for each one. If you want to change it around, you just highlight the text that you want to change and change the color, like so. If you want to change the font, you can change that too. But it's probably best to keep the same uniform font throughout your whole message. But again, it's just personal preference. I like to keep the same font throughout the whole message. But it's whatever you want to do as far as changing the font. So you have that ability to change each font if you wanted to. Now, if you look up top here, you have ability to do a fill style for each of the text. So if you want to change the shadowing or make it transparent, you have that ability too. Right now I have it at transparent, so transparent on black, you won't see anything. Highlight it, we'll change the opacity to a different one. 100%. Let's go to, let's say, a different color background. Again, I'll click here. I'll change the color background and say light blue. Bless you. And then I could change the opacity if I wanted to by hitting the opacity here, and I can make it a little bit lighter in color. Depending on the color background and what you have there, it's probably best to keep your message at 100% because that's what you want to point out. You get everything in the background showing and everything, but I'd say keep your text at 100% just so it's easier to read, and everything else in the background lighter in color and such.
That was in opacity?
That was in opacity. You got that ability to change it from 100% to transparent. I'm just saying different percentage-wise for the text. Depending if you have a background in there, you could change the opacity of the text. Once I get into background and such, then you'll get what I mean as far as using opacity.
Okay.
You could add an outline to your text if you wanted to by going here. You'll see an outline button. And you want to add an outline to your text. You highlight your text here and hit the outline button. You could choose with no outline at all, which is by default. But if you want to do add an outline to your text, just hit your thickness and you get to choose the amount of pixels of thickness. Let's go with 2 pixels, which you probably won't see here. Let me take out the bold, shrink down the text a little bit. I have it at 2 pixels, but I don't have a color because right now it's on black. So I'll choose a color. Let's go with this one right here, purple. And you see there is an outline right there around my text. And that was just 2 pixels. If I want 1 pixel, I could change it. If it doesn't change, just highlight it here. Thickness, make it 1 pixel. If you want to make it a little bit thicker, just go back to here. And let's make it, let's say 5 pixels to kind of exaggerate it. Change the color back to whatever color you want. So you got 4 pixels for thickness. If I want to change the thickness again, use that, 2 pixels. 1 pixel. So you get to play around with the outline if you want to add an outline to your message. Let me delete this one so I just have one message right here. So if I want to add a shadow to my message, I have that ability as well. If it works exactly the same way as the outline, you get to choose no shadow if you don't want a shadow. If you want a color shadow, just choose a color. Right now I don't have it seeing anything, so I'm going to choose the offset. The offset is a little window. Do you guys see the shadow offset window there, or no?
No. Yeah.
You see it now? Okay. Basically it lets you choose the offset of the shadowing by pixel. So right now I have it 1 by 1, meaning it's vertical 1 and horizontal 1. So if I hit close, if you don't see it, let's try changing the color again. Go up, try a different color. There you go. Kind of see it there. You can kind of see that there's a shadow there. Now the reason why I didn't see it at 1 and 1 is because I have a pixel height for the outline as 1 pixel or 2 pixels, so you won't see it. So you kind of play around with a adjustment here to see where you want the shadowing to be set up. You could either have it at the bottom.
I have a question. I don't know how many RGB users are on the line and how many grayscale users, but let's say we had a grayscale sign. How would that work? The outlines. Is it harder to, would you just change that standard to the white grayscale? How, you know?
I'll go ahead and show that to you right now. Yeah, so.
Oh, great.
As you see here, this is for a full color. But if you're working on a grayscale sign, let me show you how a grayscale would look. Got white text here. I'm going to change the background color. Say a gray. Actually, let's see. Color change? No.
White would be, let's say someone had a red grayscale sign. I guess white would be just a basic red, and then as it gets darker red. I mean.
Yeah. See if it'll.
Okay.
Here.
Gotcha.
So that would look something like that.
Okay.
So I got a white text, because remember I was telling you guys earlier to use a white 256 shades to get the brighter output. If you're using red, when you put it out there as a red sign, you'll notice it'll be dim compared to some of the other messages. So you want to choose white 256 shades to get the brightest output.
Right. I was just trying to relate the grays to a red or an amber. Now I understand.
Right. So keep in mind when you're using shadows and outlines, if you're working with a grayscale sign, you want to choose the best shade of gray or white to get you the best output. So if I want to remove the shadowing, just hit no shadow. That'll remove the shadow. If it doesn't do it, you could always hit this button right here to turn it on or off. It's the same thing with the outline. If you want to turn it on or off, you can always hit this button to turn it on or off, like so. Any other questions so far?
No, thank you.
Okay. So let's say I want to add some animation to this one frame I created. I have my text here. I have it set up how I want it to look, but now I want to add some animation to it. To add animation, remember it works like an overhead projector. Every time you click on something, you can move it around on the frame. And let's say I want the message to be here, but I want it to animate now. So whatever you have selected, which is a text box that I have selected with a yellow box around it, I could go here to the top right hand corner and choose any of these animation functions to apply to this object right here. As I add more objects to this frame, I could choose different animations for each object. So for instance, I want to add some animation to this text right here. I highlight the text box by clicking on it. I'll see the yellow bounding box around it, and I go here to the top. Let's say I just wanted to have it move in and move out. So I'm going to double click move in, and you'll notice that move in is showing up on the timeline now. On the timeline, you'll notice that text 1 is this text box that I have selected, and I have a timeline which is a 0 to 5 seconds, and I have move in showing up here. Now by default, it moves in at from 0 seconds to 1 second. So if I were to preview that for you, you'll see how it looks. I'm going to press play and let me know if you don't see the animation, okay?
Okay?
Did everybody get to see that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So if you look at that and study how it moved, it came at 0 seconds, and it took about 1 second to get here. And this is where the spot where I left my text. Let's say if I move this hello to the bottom right-hand corner, and I see the text edit box again from 0 to 1 second, I'm going to hit play again. And start from 0 to 1 second, you'll see that it moved to the bottom right-hand corner because that's where I left the text box, and that's where it's going to end, right there. Now the same thing is going to apply if I have multiple lines of text. So right now I only have one line of text. I'm going to go back to text edit. I'm going to add a second line in there just to show you how it looks. So I have line 2. And I'll shrink the spacing down a little bit. And I'll put it to the center so it's kind of centered now. Now notice I have line 1 and line 2 set up. I'm going to go back to the timeline tab, and again it's a visual representation of the frame. Right now I only have one text box, but I have 2 lines in there. And again I have an effect of move in from 0 to 1 second. And the rest of the frame is going to be just sitting there for the next 4 seconds. So if I hit play again, from 0 to 1 second, it's going to sit there because that's where it stops. And that's it. You guys have any questions so far? Okay, so that's how the text and the animation work. Let's say I want to add it so it leaves instead of just sitting there for the next 4 seconds. So again, I'll click on the text box, and now I'm going to go up here. And I want to have it fade out this time. So I'm going to double click fade out. And once I double click fade out, you'll notice that fade out shows up here on the timeline. But now you'll see that the sprite box for text 1 enlarges, and now I have move in for the first second. Follow the timeline, you got 3 seconds of sitting there, and then I have fade out for the last second, from 4 to 5 seconds. So if I were to play that window, you'll see that it moves in from the left, sits there for 3 seconds, and it'll fade out for the last second. So let's go ahead and watch it right now. You'll see that it moved in, stays for 3 seconds, and it'll fade out for the last second. Did you guys catch that?
Yes, I did.
I might have gone too quickly. Go ahead. Yeah.
Did you click on the work, I call it the work area, did you click in that text box before you hit fade out, or did you just hit fade out?
And I clicked on the work area to choose a text
Okay,
to make sure it's selected. And
okay,
then I went and double click fade out, so it's applied to this object right here.
okay, great, thank you.
Because if it's not selected and you try to double click something, it won't show up and it won't apply to anything. So you have
Okay,
to make sure
got
you
it.
always click on the object and double click one of these. So now I have a move in and a fade out. But with each object you have the ability to kind of layer animations on top of each other. So let's say I want to have it fade out and move out at the same time. So I have that ability to do that. So again, I'm going to click on the text box here, and I double click on move out now. Now if I double click on move out, you'll notice that the text box again enlarges. Now I have move out and fade out applied right next to each other. And now I have move out and fade out, and I have a move in the beginning. So if you follow the timeline and take a look at it, from 0 to 1 second is moving in to the spot where I saved it. It's going to sit there for 3 seconds, and then it'll move out for the last second. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and you'll see how it goes on. So I'll hit play, and you'll see how it animates. Goes in for 1 second, 3 seconds, it'll sit there. And then the last second, it moves out and fades out. Did everybody catch that?
I caught it.
Okay, that's
I don't, that redundant, the move out and fade out?
yeah, it is. You wouldn't need both of them at the same time, but I'm just showing the ability to layer different animations on top of each other to make it do different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's say I want to adjust the way that it moves. Now, if I were to, I don't like how it comes in from the left. I want to come in from the right or from a different direction. That's where this property sheet comes into play. If I were to go to the timeline again, click on this text box, you'll notice that the text box has property sheet options that you can change from what I was explaining before. If I actually go to the timeline here and click on, say, move in, and that's highlighted, you'll notice that the property sheet changes, and I have a direction I can change it to. By default, I have it going left to right. I'm going to change it to a different one. So let's say I want to go from top to bottom now. So I go top to bottom, click on it again just to make sure, and you'll see the top to bottom is now changed. And I have the ability to change the duration. Right now it's 1 second duration, and I can choose a start time. So let's say I want to have it start at a different time, let's say at the 4 second mark. Actually at the 3 second mark. If I type in 3 and hit enter, and click here, it should have changed to 3. If it didn't change, you have that ability to click here and drag it. So if you don't want to work with a property sheet, you could actually adjust it by dragging it along the timeline. If you want to change the duration too, you have that ability to drag it across like that. So I have the ability to change it here on the property sheet, or I can change it here by clicking and dragging. So let's say I wanted to move in from 0 to 1 second, but actually I want to extend the moving in time. So I could click here and extend it to say 2 seconds, and then 2 seconds is sitting there, and then I have a move out, fade out right here. And now my direction, instead of going from left to right, I have it going from top to bottom. So I'm going to hit play, and you'll see that it goes from top to bottom, but it takes about 2 seconds to get there now. It'll sit there for 2 seconds and then leave at the same time after that. Now you're talking about the not having move out and fade out at the same time. It's kind of redundant. So you can just click on one that you don't like. Let's say I don't like fade out. I'll click on that and just hit the delete button on my keyboard, and it removes it from there. So now I just have move in and move out. Now let's say I want to have it move out, but I want it to go to a different direction. Again, I'll click on move out, and I'll see my direction. I have it going from right to left. Let's have it go from top to bottom. So I could do top to bottom. Click on that. I could double check by clicking on it, and you'll see that it changed from top to bottom. And again, if I want to extend the duration of that animation, I just click it here, and then I could have it 2 seconds now on the timeline. So if everything looks okay there, I have it moving in from 2 seconds to this spot. It's going to sit there for 1 second and then leave after that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play and check it out to see how it goes. See that it moves in, stays for 1 second, and then it'll leave after that. Now in real time, you're actually not going to have 1 second of text just sitting out there. I'm pretty sure you're going to have your animation come in quickly and then stay there for a longer amount of time and then leave after that. So what you'd probably want to do is have a shorter duration for the animation. So 1 second by default is okay. If you want to have it shorter, you could do that by going here to the timeline and shrinking down the duration. So I have it half a second if I wanted to, and then half a second for moving out. So I have it moving in for half a second, sitting there for pretty much a duration of 4 seconds, and then moving out for the half second. So I'm going to go ahead and play that and tell me what you think, how it looks. Comes in really quick, then it sits there for 4 seconds, and it'll just leave after that. Did everybody get that? Okay. You guys have any questions so far? Okay. So let's say I'm happy with this frame and I want to leave it as is. So let's go to another frame, because most of the time you're going to have messages with multiple frames on there. You have one point, then it's go to the next point, then it'll go to the next point, etc. So you're not limited to just one frame. You could add multiple frames in this file. So let's say I'm happy with this one frame. I could go to the top here and hit add frame. What that does is I have a frame that I created and I'm happy with as far as presentation and how it looks, and now I can go to the second frame and create another message exactly the same way, or I can mix it up and make it do different things. So right now I have 2 frames here. I'm going to go work on my second frame. So what you really want to do too is always save your files, because you don't know what might happen. So what you want to do is go File and do Save As, or Save, and then you want to give this frame a name. So today I'm going to give it today's date. So I have it today at 2/10/2012 demo, and how it's saved. So what you always want to do is when you're working with your files, that you always want to save them, just in case something happens or if you want to get to it later on. So let's say I'm happy with my first frame, I want to create a second frame. But this time I'm going to use some of the things that are available here. Now let's say if I want to use some shapes, like a banner, I'm going to put a banner here and put an arc. I can add an arc here. Or let's say I don't like that arc, I can always click on it, delete it. I'll add a basic shape like a rectangle. So I have a rectangle here. Right now, by default, it has a shadow, as you can see. I want to remove that shadow. Just click on the shadow box right here. It'll remove it. If there's an outline by any chance, I could click on it to remove it. And I have a basic box right here. Again, you could always change the color background of the rectangle or shape that you have there by clicking on it and choosing one of these colors right here. It's going to work the same way for a grayscale if you want to change the background color. So let's say I change it to this color. I can move it around in the frame, kind of shrink it down, have it set the way I want to have it set. Let's say I like it right here, and now I want to add some text to it. Now there's 2 types of text. Earlier I gave a little impression of regular text. If I want to add word art, I have that ability, so I'm going to click on word art and give it a little explanation on that. Word art basically works the same way, but the good thing about word art is it actually stretches out to the bounding box that you have there. So you could actually fit more text, whereas on the regular text it's kind of fixed. And it's kind of fixed to the font size that you have set here. On word art, you have that ability to kind of manipulate the size according to what the bounding box is available. So whatever I stretch to my bounding box to, you'll notice that the text kind of stretches out to that. And there's some advantages to it, so you can fit more text here. You have that ability to add more text, and it'll look pretty decent as far as presentation. But as you add more, it's going to look a little bit more squeezed down, so you want to keep that in mind too. But I've seen a lot of customers like to use the word art text, and a lot of them like to use the regular text, so it's kind of 50-50. Again, it's like personal preference and how you want to have it set up. So this is just a regular test message that I have here. As you can see, I added a rectangle shape and I added text, and you see that they're on top of each other. The way that it works is it works like a overhead projector, where as you add more objects to the frame, you just go layer on top of each other like so. If you wanted to change the order of the objects, I could right click it and do order, and I could bring it to the front. And you'll notice that the shape is now in front of the text. If I want to bring this back to the front, I could always click on it, right click, and do order, and say bring to the front. And now my text box is now in front of the shape. So now I can kind of manipulate it to have it do different things, or have it present a different way, along with the text on top of it. Did you have any questions so far?
Can you put a text message in the banner?
In the banner? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say delete that shape, and I want to put this arc on there, or a banner. Hold on a second here. Now, when I hit the banner, it came after the text. If I want to move it to the back, just right click, the order, send to the back, and now I have the text in there. You know, kind of enlarge it too, to make it fit your text. If there's a shadow on it, just click the shadow, and you can put it on top there. Now, as far as making it kind of bulge out and such, you can't really adjust it there, because it's kind of fixed text. You can change the angle of it, but as far as having it kind of bulge out, you won't be able to have it bulge out like so. But you can put text on top there.
So the text is on top. It's not really. It's not like a word art where you can change the way it positions itself.
Yeah. So I have my bulge, and I have my text on top of it, and these are two different objects. So if I want to have it animate, I could do that. It works the same way. I click on the text, and I say I want to have it move in and move out, and just double click that. And you'll notice that the text shows up here with the timeline, and I have a move in and move out function for that. This is a separate object, but I have that ability to click on it and add animation to it if I wanted to. So I could do a fade in, fade out if I wanted to. So if I look at my timeline, I notice I have a shape 3, which is the bulge here, and I have a fade in and fade out for that. And I have a text art, which is a move in and move out. So if I were to preview that, you see that it comes in while the other one fades in, and it'll fade out and come in and leave at the same time. Let's say I want to have the shape do some other things. I could add another animation to it by hitting rotate. If I rotate that, I have it rotate for 1 second. Let's say I want to have it rotate the whole time. So I can click on this menu bar here and kind of stretch it out so it takes up the whole frame. Now if I were to hit play, you'll see that it rotates for a full 5 seconds while that one leaves.
Cool.
And again, I could manipulate the rotation by clicking on the rotation, and you'll see the rotation type. Again, that's with the property sheet. So with fade in, fade out, you really have a opacity that you kind of adjust, and duration. And it's the same thing with move in, move out. If I want to have it come in a different direction. And same thing with rotate. If I click on rotate, I could choose the rotation angle along with the type. So when I have it rotate from the top, hit play to preview it, you see that it rotates at the top. Kind of rotates a little bit differently. If I want to adjust the rotation, let's say horizontal, click on that. You see that it rotates that way. If I want to change the speed too, I just manipulate the angle. And again, you're not limited to the amount of objects that are on there. It depends how much you want to kind of manage. So let's say I have here the bulge, I have my text here, and I want to add another object in there. I add another bulge. I'll move that to the back, but change it to a different color. So let's say you want to have this, let's say pink. I'll change that to a different color. And then I'll remove the shadow again. But I'll move this one to the back again. Position will be, or order will be something back. And I got to move my text to the front. So as you keep adding more objects, it gets a little bit more difficult as far as micromanaging, but you kind of do that by putting them layer on top of each other like so. So let's say I want to have that rotate, this comes in, and then I'm going to have this rotate too. So I could actually click on it, hit rotate. Now you'll notice I have 3 objects on the frame, and on the timeline it has 3 objects there too. So I can manipulate the rotation here by doing the same thing. And let's have it do a slower rotation, but a different type of rotation. So if I were to hit play, you'll see you have 3 different objects in the frame and they're having their own separate animation. Now most likely it won't get as complicated because you don't want to kind of give a lot of visual eye candy to the customer. It depends what you want to do. But this is just an example of what you can do with the program. Because a lot of our customers just straight to the point, put their message up there, and have it leave and go to the next frame. But with this, you kind of can add some more things to it to make it present differently in how you want to have it set up. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Are there any kerning and tracking controls?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that?
Are there any kerning and tracking controls? You know what I mean by that? The spacing between letters.
To see if, I'm sorry, I keep losing you.
I said, are there any
tracking? Like tracking controls?
and kerning controls.
For this one, this is just the program, the ME3 program. It's just creating your messages. As far as like tracking, are you talking like real-time data?
No. I'm talking about it's a type of average term for spacing between letters. See the extra space between the T and the E and the word test?
Oh, okay, right.
That's something that in print you can pull those two together. It's just a function of the shapes of the letters.
Okay. For this one, not the word art, because we're using word art, so you can't really adjust the spacing in between the text. And in regular text, it kind of works in conjunction with the line spacing, but you can't really squeeze the text closer. If that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Just curious if it's not available in many online type of programs like this for signage. I just guess if it was available. Thank you.
Oh yeah. So let's say I'm happy with this frame, and I'm going to go ahead and save it again, and I'm going to start with another frame here to show you what you could do for images. So let's say I'm happy with that frame. I'm going to start with another frame. I hit add frame again, and now the Media Editor 3 program has the ability to add images to your messages. either as a background or just as a static logo. So in order to add images to your sign, what you have to do is hit Add Image here, and then you're going to choose from whatever images you have available. Right now I have just a few example images, but you could basically use any image that you have to put on your sign. But you want to make sure that the sizing of resolution of your image will match your sign. Right now I'm working on a 48 by 128, which is basically 48 pixels high and 128 pixels wide. A lot of images that you encounter online or you have available, most likely the matrix size or resolution of those images will be too large to fit on your sign. They will fit, it's just that it'll shrink it down to kind of compensate. So let's say you're working with like a 1 megapixel or 3 megapixel image, which is about 1 million and 3 million pixels. If you try to shrink it down on a 48 by 128, you'll lose a lot of the details that are available. Like 1 megapixel is about 1 million. A 48 by 128 is just about 6,000 pixels. So you're trying to lose about keep 6,000 pixels out of the million to get most of the image there. So let me show you an example. I'm going to choose this Starbucks logo, which is a 300 by 300 pixel logo. I'm going to hit open, and right here it shows pretty much a scale view of how it looks like. But when you try to shrink it down on a 48 by 128, you'll see that it kind of looks and loses some of the detail. So I'm going to hit import here. Let me go back to show you how it works. You go to the toolbar here. You go to the toolbar here and you hit Add Image. So you click on Add Image. I'm going to choose one of the images I have available. I'm going to hit Open. When you hit Open, it'll give you an Import Image window along with a height and width that tells you what the resolution of that image is. So I'm going to hit Import, and you'll see that it tries to shrink down that 300 by 300 image to fit a 48 by 128. And you'll notice that you can kind of see it, but it looks kind of blurry.
Yep.
Now, remember that when I'm using the zoom in function, it looks blurry here. As I get closer to it, it gets much more blurry. That's kind of simulating if you were standing right in front of it. Like right now, it's like I was standing about 5 feet from it. As it gets farther out, depending on your setup, you notice that the pixels kind of blend together, and you can see the image as it gets farther out, and you kind of tell what's going on. Can you see that there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Are those
so,
images ones in the elements?
this image is not, but the elements have different matrix sizes for you available for different images. So when I get to importing some more images, I'll show you some of the elements that are available. I'll just show you an example of an image that if you're trying to get something that's larger than your sign. So let's say I don't like that image. I delete this image. I'm going to import the same one, but I just want to focus on her face now. So I hit Add Image again. I'm going to go back to that logo file I chose. Hit Open. And now, again, it's 300 by 300 pixels, but I just want to focus on her face. So if you take a look at the preview window, you'll notice that there are yellow arrows there. And you could actually adjust the arrows to crop a different section. Right there. So, let's say I just want her face. I could go and focus on just her face, like so. And then, right now, the surrounding area is just her face. So if I were to import that, you'll notice that it just cuts through her face, and now the image is much more clear compared to if I just import the whole image. And the same will apply for other images too. Like I've had other customers, they want to do a group picture, but they just want to have one face out of the group picture, or just a certain section of a group picture. You do the same thing. You hit Add Image, and choose the logo, Let me try doing a different picture here so you kind of tell. So I'll go to this one right here. A group picture, and I just want to focus on one guy. Let's say I just want to focus on Leonardo over here. I'm going to use these yellow arrows to kind of move and adjust, and I'm going to focus on just his face. I'm going to hit import, imported just his face. And now I just have his face. And let's say I want to import another image there and do the same thing. Let's say I just want SpongeBob's eyes. I could do just his eyes right here. I could just go with his face again. So we'll go with just his face. Again, use the same yellow arrows to kind of adjust it and focus on just his face. I hit import, and you see that his face is right there.
I have a quick question.
Right.
If an image is created in full color or RGB, do they have to stay RGB, or can they be changed? Do they also change to grayscale?
When you're working on a white 256 shade image or a file, when you import the image, it'll automatically be set to grayscale.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So right now I'm working on a full color, so everything you see here is in color. But again, when you're working on a grayscale project, it'll automatically change it to grayscale.
I think you're partial.
Okay.
I'm kidding. All right, good.
Okay, so let's say I have my three images here, and they work exactly the same way as they are with first frame. Second frame, as far as adding animation, I just have three images here I imported, and it works the same way. I want to have animation for each one. Let's say I choose the Starbucks face. I have it move in. Click on it, double click move in, and you'll see that I have a move in for the first shape. I want to have a move in for this next shape right here, SpongeBob. Click on him again. You can see that he's selected. I'll double click move in. And I'm going to choose Leonardo here, double click him. And I have a move in for each one. So let's say I look on my timeline, I have it moving all at the same time. So if I were to play it, you see that they all move in at the same time. You guys see that?
I did.
Yes.
Now I could kind of stagger it. You don't have to follow it coming in from the very beginning. I could stagger in the animation if I wanted to. You do that by clicking on the timeline. You can kind of adjust it by presentation. So if I hit play, if I look here, I'll notice that it comes in like a staircase. So if I hit play, you notice that one comes in, boom, second one comes in, and third one comes in, all in different times. Now let's say I want to have it go in different directions now. Again, I click on the move in function. I have this one going left to right. I like that. I want to adjust this one now. That's over here. I'll have this one come in from top to bottom. And this one, I'll have this one coming from, let's go right to left. If it ever adjusts, you kind of adjust it this way again. I'll hit play to preview it to you. So I have this one coming there, and then there. They all come in at the same different times. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so
It's down in the timeline. Can you rename your shape?
unfortunately you can't.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll probably put that as a suggestion on the next iteration, but as of right now, they only have names for each one, so you keep it as is.
It's not that big a deal because they highlight what you set them, so.
Now let's say I want to extend the duration of the frame. Click on the frame itself, and you see that duration is 5 seconds, and it works the same for all 3 of these images here. If I want to extend the duration of the frame, just click on the frame itself, and you see the duration is 5 seconds. So if I want to change it to 10-second frame, I can just type in 10 here, hit enter, and now you'll notice that the timeline extends to 10 seconds. So let's say I like the duration for these first 2 frames are short. I want to extend this one because I'm going to have some more animation to this. I just click on the frame, change the duration to 10 seconds, and now my timeline has been extended 10 seconds. So now let's say I want to have all 3 of these rotate. So I click on the first one, I hit rotate, and I want to manipulate it so it's going to rotate at 3 seconds from 7 seconds. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Double click that, rotate. I'm going to have the same thing happen to this guy. I'm going to click my third one right here and do the same thing, have them rotate. And now my timeline shows I have them coming in at staggered times with a rotation for all 3 of them at the same time. So if I hit play and preview it, let's check it out to see what happens. So I have them coming in, staggered times, they're all rotating at the same time, and they stopped. And that's the end of the frame. Now let's say I want to have them move away at different times now. So again, click on the object, I'll do move out, click this one, move out, click this third one, move out, and you'll notice that every time I click on one and hit an animation, you'll see that it adds to the object. So each object kind of stretch out, and they each have their own animation for each section. And I kind of have them staggered again. So I go and hit staggered again. So if I were to check it out, let's play it. They come in at 3 different times. They're rotating all at the same time. And now they're going to leave individually. And that works exactly the same way for any object that is in frame. You're not limited to just images like I just imported right there. I'll just show you an example of what you can do with images. But you can do the same thing with text, with shapes, etc. that's on the frame. You have any questions so far? Okay, so let's get to the next frame. Let's say I like the frame, like what I've done here. I'm going to save it again. And now I'm going to add a 4th frame here. And we'll go to the elements file. Now, on your CD, it gives you an option to add ME3 elements and add-ons. When you add the elements file, what it is a little clip art that you could use along with video clips. They're basically the same thing, but it's the video clips that you have available are basically the same in still form under clip art. So if I were to go to add image here, I'm going to go into my documents under Media Editor 3 because that's the default location of where it's set up. Under my documents and Media Editor 3, you'll see an elements folder here. So you double click and open up the elements folder, and it gives you different things here: automotive, backgrounds, education, financial, food and beverage, etc. So whatever you have available, you could use. So I'll show you the difference between the two. Let's say we go to holidays, hit open, and right now I'm working on a 48 by 128 sign. So it gives you 32 high, 48 high, and 64 high, because those are most of our default sizes. So I'm going to go to 48 high, and let's say I choose Ghost. So I click Ghost, and this is under image. So if it open, you see that the ghost shows up. I hit import, and now it's just a ghost image goes up. Now, if you go to add video, we'll go to the same folder again. My Documents, Media Editor 3, and Elements. And then we're going to go to Holidays again, 48 high. And we're going to take that same one, but this time it's an AVI form. If I hit open, it'll come up with the same import window along with the video, but this time it gives you extra controls. If you remember when I was cropping out different sections of the screen for image, the same arrows apply for the video. So if I wanted to crop out just a certain section of the ghost, I could just do his face, just his arm or whatever, in the same way. But I want to import the whole video clip. So I'm going to hit import, and it should play the whole thing. And now it gives me two versions here. One is a video clip version and one is this clip art. So that's the difference between the two and the Elements. It gives you two versions of the same thing. So if I were to play this window, you'll see that the ghost moves around along with just a still clip. But they work exactly the same way as far as importing and moving around on the sign itself.
Hey, Jonathan?
Yes.
If you have a red or amber grayscale and are all the elements just in RGB, or how do they translate back to a shaded model?
By default, when you're working on a grayscale sign, it will automatically change the clip art, images, and video to grayscale.
What do you change your standard to the, and then these ghosts would come out in the grayscale?
Yeah,
Right.
so let's say right now I'm on a full color right now. I'm going to go to options and go to sign properties.
Yeah.
Sign type as full color, I'll change it to Y256 and hit OK. And you'll see that everything's changed to grayscale.
Oh, gotcha. Great.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
What happened with the transparency in the background for those two files?
The transparency shouldn't show up, but if it does show up on your video, just go ahead and let us know. Because they're supposed to be transparent, you're not supposed to see it.
It won't show up on the output, it's just showing up here?
It shouldn't show up. If it does, just go ahead and let us know, and we can have our software engineer take a look at it.
Okay.
It's just showing there to show you that it's transparent.
Oh, okay, okay.
But if it does show up, just go ahead and let us know, and then we can take a look at it.
Okay.
So right now I'm working on the grayscale sign now. I changed the sign type, but it basically works the same way. I have my image here along with the clip art. So on the Elements, you have two versions. You have a clip art version, which is a still image like so, like the ghost. Or if you want to use a video clip, you have that option by hitting the add video here, and it'll be the video clip. Now you're not limited to the video elements. You could use your own video clips as well. But it's the same thing where you want to keep in mind the video clips that you're using in accordance to your sign as far as matrix size and resolution. Again, these elements are made for the sign. I have a 48 high sign, and I use a 48 high elements right here. As you can see, 48 high. If you try to use a video clip that's larger than 48 high or whatever matrix size you're set to, you want to keep in mind that we're going to shrink down your video and have it move in so that you're going to lose some of the detail that's in the video clip. So it works exactly the same way with images, that you want to keep in mind what the matrix size of your sign is and the resolution in the video that you're putting in there. Now I'll go ahead and change this back to a full color.
What was this? Oh, the white. I gotcha. sorry about that. I was going to ask you what W was, it's white, right, got it.
That will get you the brightest output.
The brightest, yep.
So I put it back to RGB so you can see the colors. And I'm going to use a background now, a video clip for a background. So let's say I'm happy with these two. I'm going to make another frame. I'm going to save this file. And I'm going to use a video clip for a background. So I'm going to hit add video. And I could go into the elements. And I see backgrounds here. And again, it's by matrix size. 48 by 192. I'm using 48 by 128, but what it does, it shrinks down, or I could use sections of the video. So I'll do 48 by 192, and I'm going to choose one of these effects here. Let's say, let's see, what can I use here? We'll try the U.S. flag here. And I got this video clip. I want to import the whole thing, so I just hit import. And when I import that, it's 48 by 192, so that I could actually stretch it out to take up the whole thing if I wanted to. Or I could do a little section, like if I want the video clip to just be here, I could add text to the left of that, or right of that. Let's say you want to do something for July 4th. I could have it set up for July 4th. And I'll have my flag on the left-hand side will be a video. So if I hit play, the flag is moving, and I have just still text on the right-hand side. Now it's a short video, it's only 5 seconds, but I could extend it if I wanted to. If I want to extend the clip, just have it just stay still for a longer duration. Click on the frame. And again, duration is 5 seconds. I'll extend this to 10 seconds. So if I go to my timeline, you'll notice that the timeline is extended to 10 seconds now. And I'll play this clip. Now if the clip doesn't go past the 10 seconds, you click on this, and again with the property sheet, you can adjust it. So auto rewind, you want to put true. So just loop the same video clip over and over for 10 seconds. So I'm going to play that, and now it's going to play for the entire 10 seconds. Hello, can you hear me still?
Yes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thought I lost you for a second. Okay, so with the video, you can manipulate the size like so. Again, it works exactly the same way as images or any other object on the frame. You can manipulate the size and put it in the background. If I want to change the text color to a different one, I can make it like orange or something like that to make it stand out a little bit. And now I have video there along with the text in the background or in the foreground. So if I hit play, it works exactly the same way. I mean, obviously you can't see it there, but you kind of play around with the text to make it so you can read it. But you have that ability to put video in the background while you have text there. And again, the same way as, remember how the 3 objects here and they each have their own animation? Let me preview that for you again. They each have their own animation here. I could do the same thing with that video clip that I just created. I could do the same thing by going here and then again just clicking on the frame and clicking on the object. And let's say I want to have it move in and move out the same way. And I'm going to do the same thing for the text, just have it fade in and fade out. And it works exactly the same way. You have Each object has its own animation that you kind of adjust the way you want it for presentation, and they're its own separate object. Now, does anybody have any questions so far?
What if you wanted to make the July 4th bigger? How would you do that?
If you want to make the July 4th bigger, you just click on the text itself, and then just go to the text edit box, and then you can change the size here. If you want to change the color, let's say you put it to white, and then we'll add an outline to it. And it'll only get 2 pixels. And I have my text kind of stands out now, because I added an outline and put it for brighter text. And now I have the video clip there along with my text. I added an outline around it with 2 pixels for thickness, and I added black for color. So if I hit play,
Oh yeah, that's a lot clearer.
yeah, it's a lot better. Earlier I just showed just regular text on top, but you kind of manipulate different properties like the outline or size and color, and you can kind of make it stand out.
Yeah, that looks a lot better.
Yeah. If you wanted to, you could just, if you want, you just shrink down the file scaling like that, put it right there. That's another thing you could do. You know, it depends how you want to have it set up. Probably the best way is to have the whole thing cover up the whole screen. Does anybody else have any questions so far? Okay, so let's say we're happy with our movie now. We want to send it out to the sign. Now we have to go to the other program, and I'll show you how that one works too. So we created our message, we saved it, and we're saving it as a project file. When you look at the project file, it's going to have an extension of .ME3. So this allows you to get back into this message if you want to adjust some of the frames, delete frames, and send it out to the sign again. So you always want to make sure that you save this file to get back to it later if you want to adjust some things that you don't like. So let's say we want to send this out to the sign. But there's one more thing that you want to do, which is a transition between frames. If you were to preview the whole thing, you're just going to go frame to frame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you have an option here to add animation in between frames. So let's go here to the Frames tab at the top. And now it gives you an overview of all the frames that you have in your message. Right now I have 5 frames, and I want to put an animation in between there. That's what they call these transition frames. So I have options here for different types of wipes, pushes, slides, etc. If I want something random, I could go to the special section, and you'll see a random box right here. And what you want to do is click on it, and then you can drag it all the way up here and put it in between. Let's say I go to wipes. I want to put this one here and click this and drag it over here. And I got a wipe in between frames 2 and 3. I'll do a shrink now and try one of these. Take this one, drag it over here, and I got it in between these 2 frames. I'll take a flip, pick that, put it in between here. Good to go. And then we'll take one more for this last frame right here. We'll do a push, and we'll take this one and put it here. The reason for this one in front, because it loops. So you want to have something in between there that goes in between last frame and the first frame. So now I have it set up, so I have my 5 frames, and I have an animation in between there. So if I want to preview it, I just hit edit, and we'll go to frame number 1, and we're going to hit play. And I'll preview everything that I have here. Does everybody see my preview message so far?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. This is our last frame, and then I'll just go back to the very top again. So if everything looks good, again, you just do File and Save. And then what we're going to do is go to File, and then we're going to do Export Movie. When you do Export Movie, what we're doing is taking everything that we created and putting it into one file. And this file is what we're going to use to upload to the sign. So when you hit Export to Video or Export Movie, it gives you this window right here. The format is going to be Object Displays or OPV file. By default, this box is unchecked. What I recommend is they always keep that box checked, because as you do that, it'll compress the files that you created, so it'll be smaller in size when you upload to the sign. It'll take less time. No matter what, it's probably best to keep them compressed anyway. If you have one frame, you have multiple frames. It's best when you're working with multiple frames, that'll shrink the size down. So right now I have the compressed box checked. Under that is a file name. So if I want to change my file name, I can just highlight this area and just type in the name I want to put, or just keep it as is, to keep it the same name as the original project file. Over here on the right is a Browse button. If I want to browse and put it in a different location, I just hit this. It'll bring up a Save As, and I can tell it where I want it to save. Right now I have it to desktop. I hit Save. I have it going into desktop. Frame rate, I got 30 frames per second. Usually just leave it as default. Frame count is how many frames you have on your project. I have 5 frames, so it gives me a frame count of 5. Next thing you do is hit Export. When you hit Export, video compression box will come up. Full frames uncompressed is if you don't compress it. They give you different selections here. The best one that we usually like to use is Microsoft Video 1. So hit Microsoft Video 1. I like to leave compression quality as default. You can kind of move around and kind of mess around with it to see what you like, but this usually gives the best result. So usually just leave it as is. Hit OK. Once you hit OK, it'll go to its exporting, and you'll see in this window right here is giving you a preview of the window of the file that we're exporting, and then give you a progress window or a progress bar as far as how the exporting is going. So once it goes to 100%, just go ahead and hit close, and we're good here. Now we could go into the user end program and import this file. So in order to go there, we could close out this Media Editor 3, and we're going to go into the user end program. Do you guys see my user end program?
I do, sir.
Okay. So this user end program is the second of the two programs that you'll be using. The first one is the Media Editor 3, which allows you to create messages and put it all together into one slick frame. Now once that's complete, you have to go into the user end program, and this is what you're going to use to upload your files to your sign. So what you want to do is, when you open up the program, usually start with File and hit New File Schedule. When you hit New File Schedule, you just get a blank template here, and you want to check the bottom right hand corner here for size. You want to make sure that the size is matching what you're working with. Remember when I was working with 48 by 128 over there? Right now it's 48 by 96, so I need to change it to the correct size. Otherwise it's going to look funny on my sign. So you go to Option, go to Change Sign Size, and change it to the correct size. I got 48 by 128. Hit OK. It actually won't change here until we actually close the program out and open it back up. But if you want to double check, we'll just go to Change Sign Size. It still says 48 by 128. Now, to start, you want to choose a file that you want to upload to the sign. So in order to do that, remember when you hit New File Schedule here, we're starting with a blank slate. Next thing you want to do is hit New on the far right hand side. When you hit New, it gives you three selections there. One is File, one is Token, and one is Group. When you hit File, that's going to tell us that we want to choose the one file that we just created. So when I hit File, it gives me an Edit Date Time window of today's date. Now what you want to make sure is that the clock on your computer is set correctly to the correct time and date. Because we have other customers before who try to send their message out there, but it doesn't play at the correct time. The reason for that is because the clock on their computer is set to the wrong date or time, and whenever you send out your message to the sign, it'll sync up to your clock. So you want to make sure you're setting it correctly. I had customers call in saying that my message isn't playing, and it turns out that their computer clock was set to 1993. So you want to make sure that the clock on your computer is set correctly. The best thing to make sure is when you do hit New and hit File, you check the start date, and it's usually today's date. So right now I have today as 2/10/2012. And I have a starting time at 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock, so that's default. So if I look at my start date time and end date time, I have it only playing for one day. And that's the default setting. If I want to have it play for a longer amount of time, go to the end date time and choose a starting end date, or an end date for that. So right now, I want to have it go indefinitely, so let's say I have it for like 2015. So right now I have it from today's date at midnight all the way till 2015. And it's going to play from 12 to 12 every day. Now let's say I want to have it play from a different time. Let's say 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. But we'll keep the dates. So dates look okay. We're going to change the start date and end, or actually the start time and end time for the file. So I'll do 6 a.m. here for the start time, and I'm going to change it to 7 p.m. for the end time. So if I go over my setting, I have today's date until 2015, and I have a 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. playtime. So that means it'll play every day from 6 to 7 until 2015. If I look here, I'll see the days of the week. I could choose individually which days I don't want it to play. That way I don't have to schedule each one individually. So basically if I have Monday unchecked, Tuesday unchecked, I have it from today till 2015, 6 to 7. It's going to play every day except for Mondays and Tuesdays until 2015. If I have it unchecked,
what happens on the off time? What happens after 7 p.m.?
After 7 p.m., it's going to tell you no schedule. No schedule
Is this sign
found.
blank?
No. I'm sorry.
Is this sign blank?
No, no. I'm gonna get to that once I get to
Oh,
the board.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. The setup here is we have it so you're playing all 7 days of the week. If you have it unchecked, it's going to play on the days that you do have checked. So this is a convenience as far as setting up times and everything. So right now I just have it playing from today until 2015, 6 to 7 every day. Now I'm going to choose my file. I'm going to hit browse. I'm going to hit desktop, and I'm going to go to that desktop where that demo I just created. We're going to double click on this, hit open, and now I have my file from today to 2015, 6 a.m. to 7, and it's going to be that demo file we created. If you want to make sure it's correct, just hit the play button here, and it'll preview that window we just created, as you can see. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that's good. So if everything checks out there, then you close out this preview window, hit OK. And now, we started our first schedule. And now we have it playing from start date to end date, start time to end time, and this is demo that converts. Now, best thing to do, just like the Media Editor 3 project file, is to always save your schedule. So we go File, do Save Schedule. I'll save it on the desktop, depending where you want to save it, and then give this a name of 2012 schedule. And now I have my schedule file saved. So I have my first demo, and my schedule file is saved. So I can always get back to the schedule, and if I want to add some more things to the list, I could always add to it or delete files. Now you're talking about having it turn off at a specific time. Depending on the version you may have, some might have a sign added schedule, which tells you what time you want it to have it turn on or off, or some might not have this button. If you don't have that button, don't fret. What you could do is hit New here, and you're going to hit Token. And then we're going to do the same start time and end times for that. So we got that until 2015, but this time we're going to choose the times we want it to be off. So, we chose our time from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and we want it off from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. What you want to do is type in the time you want it to be off. So I have it off at 7 p.m. And 1 second, we'll do p.m. But the thing with this one, you actually have to break it down in 2 sections. The reason for that is if there isn't a break in between the days, it might confuse the computer. So you have to break it up into 2 sections, from 7 to 12, and then 12 to 6. So I got 7 to 11:59 p.m. from 2012 to 2015. And this is a token, remember. So when if you look here at the bottom, it doesn't look like what we had before. It says token, you hit the settings button here, and it gives you a blank frame. That's when it'll be off. So you don't want to put anything in there. You go under hint and give this frame a name. We'll call it blank 1. I go back to settings again. Again, I have a blank frame here, and I have a hint, meaning a name for the frame as blank 1. I'll hit apply, and then I double check my start date time and end date time. I got it from 7 to 11:59 from 2012 to 2015. If I hit OK here, you'll notice that I have my demo from 6 to 7, and I have a blank section from 7 to 12, and I'll need another blank section from 12 to 6. So I'll hit New again, hit Token, and I'm going to choose the other time from 12 to 5:59 a.m. because that's going to be a little bit before 6 a.m. Days of the week are checked again. Go to my token settings box, and now I give this name as blank 2. And I have a blank frame as blank 2. Hit apply. Pick my dates again. Everything looks okay. We're good. Now I have another message playing from this time, from 6 to 7 every day, to 2015. Second blank section is from 7 to 12. And then blank section again from 12 to 6. And now I could add some more files if I want to play from, like, say, 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll hit another file. I'll choose another file. Let's say I'll just use the same file that I created. But again, if you're working with multiple files, this is how it's going to work. Let's say I have it today, and I only want to play it for the month of February. So I have today until the 29th. I'm going to have it play to 12, let's say, let's do 9 to 11 a.m. If everything looks good there, now I have one file playing from 6 to 7 every day. And my turn-off time from 7 to 6 in these two sections here. And I have another file from 9 to 11. I have it checked there, and it looks like it's 11 p.m. I don't want that. I want it to 9 to 11 a.m. So only a 2-hour block. And this is going to play from today till the end of February, and that'll drop off. So as you create more files, you can add it to the schedule file here. And you always want to remember to always hit Save Schedule. Because as you're adding or deleting files, it'll just build up this list. It'll create an overview of all the files that you have on your schedule. So when you're ready to send that out there, you just hit Command Send Schedule. Remember, Command Send Schedule. Because if you do Add to Schedule, it will just duplicate what you have out there. And it's not good because what you have here, according to what's also playing on the sign, will just keep piling on top of each other, and you won't be able to keep track of what's out there. So my recommendation is always create one schedule file, which we created here, add and delete whatever you want on the list, and hit Command Send Schedule. So whatever changes you make, it'll add to the list here, and you'll create a blank slate and put whatever you have on this list. Does anybody have any questions so far?
I do.
Go ahead.
On line 4, wouldn't that program conflict with line 1?
It won't conflict. They'll play together. So I pretend this is a second file that we created because I'm using the same file, 1, 2.
Gotcha.
So what it'll do, I have a schedule file, this file to play from 6 to 7 every day, 6 to 7 p.m. And then this file is playing from 9 to 11 in the morning. So what it'll do, it'll play this file, and once that is done, it'll play this file too at the same time.
Oh, it will play both. Oh, good. They don't conflict. Yeah. Okay, and also on the blank. The sign doesn't go off, correct? It's because it needs the electric on. It's just like a blank screen.
Yeah, it just plays a blank screen. It actually doesn't turn off the sign.
You could have put like something in the token though, right? Rather than a blank, like a time and temp or something. Right.
Yeah, this is to show you if you wanted to blank out your sign at a specific time. Now, the sign has the ability to put time and temperature and date on there if you want that option. And that's what the tokens are here for too. So I gave you a demonstration of a token. Now, Brandon was talking about having date and time displaying on your sign rather than a blank message at night. And that's true. Some customers like to have date and time on there to display while it's supposed to be off, and they'll play their main messages during the day. So, to show you how a token works, you just hit New here and hit Token. It'll give you a start date time and end date time exactly the same way as a file. Let's say I want to have a start date time exactly the same thing as our original schedule to 2015, and we'll have this play from also 6 to 7. we got a token from 6 to 7, and then we're going to hit this token settings button. And it's going to be the same thing that we saw earlier, which is a blank frame. Earlier we were using this to create a blank frame, but we want to put date, time, and temperature on there this time. So if I want to add a date, just hit the date button here, and you'll see that it shows up exactly the same way as Media Editor 3. Where you have an object on the frame and you can move it around too. If I want to add time, just hit time again. And now I can move that around too on the frame. If I want to add temperature, I can do the same thing. So hit temp, and I can move that around too. Depending how you want to set it up, you have that freedom too. The only thing you want to keep in mind is on the tokens, there are no animations. It's just the frame coming up and then leaving. So when you put up this token, it's going to play for 5 seconds and then go to the next file or frame that you have scheduled. If you want to change the delay or presentation time, default to 5 seconds, just like Media Editor 3. You can change it in seconds by using these adjust the clock right here.
So what would that image button be?
If you want to add like a little logo, you have that ability too by hitting image.
Oh, okay, you can do an image but not an animation. Okay.
Yeah, you can't have it animate, just have an image there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you want to, you can put date, time, and temperature on the token window. That's what the tokens are for. So we put date, time, and temperature up there. We want to give this frame a name so we know what we're working with. Otherwise, we won't know. It'll be a blank message. So let's give this frame a name. We got date, time, and temp. Hit apply. Double check our times. And hit OK. And now we got a token with date, time, and temperature. So now we have our main demo that we created with Media Editor 3. We have a file playing from 9 to 11. And then now we have date, time, and temperature playing from 6 to 7 every day. So these two are playing exactly the same time, so they'll alternate between each other. And this file will play in between there from 9 to 11 at the same time. So all three will be rotating amongst each other. And this one is only playing from the month of February, so it'll drop off after everything else is done. So these will continue to go until 2015, while this one will just play for the month of February. Now, if you wanted to have date, time, and temperature on your sign, well, at night, instead of a blank message, we could always go back to our blank frame here, double-click the blank frame, hit the settings, and you could add date and time if you wanted to. Because all it is just a token frame. If you want to keep it as blank, you could do that too. Or you could always add date, time, and temperature on there, depending on how you want to have it set up.
Could you just grab that? I guess you can't grab that hints file. You can't grab the one you named date, time, and temp.
Yeah, you can't. You have to create
it like a
for each one.
file. Okay.
Now, with this one, we have date, time, and temperature together. You don't have to put it all together. You have that option to kind of break it up and go at different times. So you want to do date, time, and temperature all at the same time, but you want to have them play on different frames, but have them play exact same time, so you have to schedule each one individually. This is where the group play comes together. You hit new and then hit group, and we're going to do the same thing. Choose the start time and end date time. And then we're going to do that same thing just to show you a demonstration of have it come in. So now we have a group playing from 6 to 7. Remember how I had just a one token? I have it playing from 6 to 7, and I had this date, time, and temperature on that one token.
Right?
For this one, this is a group, so if I want to break up the token into different frames, I can hit add token here. I just do date by itself. Give this frame a name for date. Under the token, you got that option to change the font if you want. By default, it's Microsoft Sans Serif. I want to change it to Tahoma. You can change the size too. Positioning too. If you want to change the formatting too, you can change it to a different formatting if you want. And that's going to be one frame right there. So we have that as date. And you want to do time now? We're going to do the same thing. Add token. We're going to do time. Give the hint name as time. And we'll do font. Change the font if you want to. Change the size. Put it on the sign. And you can change the formatting if you'd like. Have that all set up, hit apply, and now I got date, time together. And I want to add a token. For temperature, same thing. If I want to add some more detail to that, I could too. So now I got date, time, and temperature all together in a group. They're all in their separate frames, but instead of me scheduling them one by one, I have them all together in a group. So I just had to schedule it one time. I got it from 2012 to 2015, from 6 to 7. Now if I think about it, that's the same as my original file and the other token. So essentially I could just hit add file, and then go to the desktop and look for that OPV file. And now I'm scheduling all four at the same time. I'm scheduling all four at the same time, and then I have to do it each individual one. So if I want, I need to give this group a name, so I could go date, time, temp. And hit OK. Now if you think about it, this group contains all these files, this one and this one. Because they're all scheduled all at the same time. So essentially I could just eliminate these two files right here to make it easier on me, because they're all together in a group. But you have that option there to put it together in a group or have it all separated. It all depends how you want to have it set up. Does anybody have any questions so far? So basically I have my schedule here. I got this file from 6 to 7 every day. From today till 2015. I got a blank section that's going to turn off the sign. But you want to remember that you don't want to have it overlap. Otherwise they'll have a blank section plus whatever file if it's going past the time that you have it off. So always check your start time and end times for these files. We have another file playing from the month of February only, from 9 to 11 in the morning. And I have a token file here that's playing date, time, and temperature all together, essentially the same time as this file. So these two are going to play together in conjunction. This group file here shows an example of me breaking up the tokens into separate frames, and I'm adding that original file because they're all playing at the same time. So I have that option to put them all together in a group, but I have to program each one individually. I'm just putting it all together in a group because I know they're all playing at the same time. And if everything checks out, I can hit OK. I hit save. And now I have all my list of files here. Now remember, this group is playing at exactly the same time as these. So essentially I could remove these. But let's say I want to have the group play at a different time altogether. I could always do this and have this play from, like, let's say 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. So this is one separate group by itself. You got this one playing in a longer duration of the day along with this. And this group of files right here I could play at a different time. Now essentially you don't need date, time, and temperature playing together when you have this other file playing. But this is an example of a group of files you could put together to play at a separate time. And you only have to schedule it one time by using a group.
Yeah, every time you change the schedule, you have to save the schedule. You don't have to clear the schedule. I mean, you just...
No. Every time you want to change your schedule, you just open up your existing schedule by hitting Open Schedule, and it'll bring up your existing list. So what you want to do is delete what you don't want, or add what you want to do, and then when you're ready and everything's set, just hit Command and Send Schedule. What that will do is clear out whatever is not being used and add whatever is used, and you start it with a fresh slate again, and it'll put whatever you have here listed.
Okay.
So that's the best way to work on it, because if you add to schedule, it'll just keep piling on top of each other. You don't know what you put out there as far as keeping track, and it'll just keep adding to the memory of the controller. So the best thing to do is open your schedule, add or delete whatever files you don't want or do want on your schedule, save it, and just hit Command and Send Schedule. And it'll always clear out whatever's on there and put whatever you have listed over here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now, if you look up top here, these buttons here are for hotkeys. What that is probably the best way to describe it is a lot of our signs, they use them for scoreboards too. So whenever you have like the score up there, and then someone like say scores a touchdown or a goal, they have like a quick video here to kind of interrupt what's currently playing. So let's say they have a score playing on the sign at the moment, and they have like a touchdown video that they chose. They can hit number 1 and do send. That'll automatically send the touchdown video out there, interrupt what's currently playing, and then go back to the regularly scheduled message. So this is what the hotkeys are for. You necessarily don't have to use it, but if you have any ideas for what you're going to be using it for, then you could try it to see if it works for you.
How quickly does that sound? It's like rah-rah, something like that, or touchdown?
Yeah, like a touchdown video. It plays for whatever duration of that file.
Right.
And then it'll just go back to your regularly scheduled message after that. It'll just play once.
Oh, okay. And how quickly, when you click the 1, or let's say touchdown, you just send, you're looking for the file that says touchdown, and then you hit, the send, it's right there. It's like a quick, because it has to be, okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you go 1, hit send, it'll interrupt it, go back to your message after it's done playing. Now, as you increase files onto your list, if you want to insert certain things in between, you just hit the one that you want to put in between. So let's say I want to put something in between 5 and 6. I highlight 6 and hit insert. Let's say I want to insert a file in between there. Set my time and choose my file, and I'll insert it in between here, as you can see. If you want to remove it, just highlight it, hit delete, and it'll remove it from the list. So that's an insert function. The sign idle schedule, you probably won't see it. I'm running off a beta version, so this is for when you want to turn off the sign. As I was telling you how to blank it in certain sections.
Right, it's like a working time of the
Right.
sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now under command, if you go to send selected files, that's basically saying whatever you have here, hit command and send schedule. That's basically the same thing, so you really don't have to worry about that. Send sign size and position, you don't have to worry about that. That's more along the lines of tech support. Under set startup display information, some people, when you reboot power to the sign, it'll show you sign positioning and size, along with IP address information and software version. You get that option to show that on the screen. You really don't have to worry about that. It's more along the lines of for tech support. If by any chance that the time on your clock on your sign is incorrect, you could always hit set sign time and date under command, and that'll give you the date and time along with time zone. And then it lets you choose the, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, you're syncing. You're syncing from your PC to the sign.
Yeah. If by any chance that your clock is okay, like on your computer is fine, but the time on your sign is incorrect,
Right.
just go to command and go to set sign time and date.
Right.
Choose your date and time zone.
Right, so does it go, I don't think, does the CPU in the sign allow for daylight savings, or you'd have to resync after?
It usually automatically adjusts, but if it doesn't, that's why you have that set sign time and date option right here.
Great, thanks.
So you choose that and then hit extend and it'll adjust it to your sign. Under set brightness, your sign has the ability to adjust brightness. So if you look here on the left hand side, you have a level by percentage. By default it's 100%. If you go to level and set it by percentage here and hit OK, if I set it to 50% software brightness and hit OK, that'll send it to 50% software brightness. But it'll stay at 50% until you change it again. So you want to keep that in mind. If, let's say you wanted to adjust your brightness to a different level, but it's going to keep that until you change it again. If you want to change it so it reads off the ambient light sensor, just use hardware here, and under level, you'll see auto. Just choose level as auto, hardware light sensor, hit OK. That'll adjust the sign to tell it to read off the ambient light sensor, and whatever it picks up as far as light, it'll adjust. Because weather's always changing, light's always changing, so if you want to have it read off that sensor, you have that ability to, by going to tell it to use auto sensor.
Let me ask you a question. Can you use the hardware adjust, so you're using the temperature probe, but can you set the default of the sign overall to be not 100%? Let's say I want the sign to be 70% or 75%, and then the temperature probe will be working off that 75%, or can you use both at the same time? Because the signs at night are very bright.
Oh yeah, are you talking about the temperature sensor?
I'm using the hardware probe, but even with the hardware probe, if I would like to set the base brightness on the sign to like 75%, because that's still bright enough in the daytime and it dims down enough at night. So I can use both of those things at the same time.
Yeah, that's going to be done through the schedule.
Right.
You go to schedule the software brightness here.
Right.
And then you can set a brightness schedule, so it's going to dim according to the time of day if you want to set it that way. And that'll set it as default. So you want it at 75% overall, then you can set it to that too.
But then, what I'm saying to you is, is that, does that also then use the brightness in the hardware?
No, because when you're using the schedule, you're using the software.
Right. So that's
if you want to set the default to, let's say, 75 all the time, you do software, do 75.
Okay.
You do software and do 75% and hit OK. When you do that, it'll keep it at 75%.
Right.
And then when you want to have it so it adjusts during the time of the day, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing you would do is keep it at software brightness and put it to schedule.
Okay.
And then you do a brightness schedule and you could have it adjust to whatever percentage you want during the day. But it should keep that 75% if it doesn't pick up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for the auto brightness, again, if you want to have it set to auto, just do hardware light sensor, level set to auto, and then hit OK. It'll tell the sensor to pick up as auto. And if you want to adjust the brightness defaults to, you just hit get, and it'll just pick up the brightness percentage, and you could adjust it by there. And depending on brightness setting, 22,000 in dimmer reading is like looking straight at the sun. So 10,000 is about 100%, etc. So you could get those and set them to however you want as far as how it's reading.
Okay.
Now, if you want to see what's currently playing on the sign, you just hit command and do receive play information. What I'll do is I'll tell you what's currently playing on the sign. If you want to do a temperature setting, let's say your temperature is reading a little bit off, you do that by going command and do set temperature setting. It'll give you the current temperature by hitting get, and then you can set an offset to it. And just hit set after that. Now what you want to keep in mind is a temperature probe as far as reading ambient light and also temperature reading. The temperature probe needs to be not be mounted behind the sign because that affect your dimmer as far as being too dark in between the signs. Also the heat, because the heat from the sign might be blowing back to the temperature sensor and affecting the reading as far as heat. So you want to keep that in mind too, that make sure that it's usually mounted on the side of the sign. Now when you go to command again, you can do view sign image if that's available on your version. That's basically the same thing as doing receive play information. It tells you what's currently playing on the sign. If you want to get basic info on the sign, you just get sign information. It just tells you matrix size, current time, etc. And most of these other sections here are more along the lines of tech support. So you really shouldn't have to worry about those. Now, did anybody else have any other questions?
Is there an easier way to download the files by themselves? I think I remember somebody showing me that you could put the files in so that first and then the schedule wouldn't be so hard to put in.
There is a way. If you wanted to, you could go to command and go, let's see, send selected files. So whatever you have selected on that list, so let's say you open up your schedule, just select everything. And you can do send selected files, or just send the files up there first. And if you're done with the schedule, just do command send schedule.
That works faster, right?
But essentially, the best way is to use a compression on Media Editor 3 and create your schedule here on the list. Delete what you don't want and add what you do want. Save the schedule and then do command send schedule. And when you, because the way it works, it uploads your files first and then the schedule file after that. So the best thing to do is always compress your files so the lead time to upload will take less time.
Gotcha.
Okay, you guys have any other questions?
How can we get more of the videos to play on there? Do you have to download those, or are those packages that you can buy?
We have it. They should have came with an animation disc. If you don't have one, you could contact your dealer and they could get one for you.
Well, is that just, like, when you were showing us the Ghost and stuff like that, is that the packet you're talking about?
Yeah, that's actually on the CD. That's part of the elements and add-on files. Right.
I have that. There was just another guy I was talking to who owns a property with a sign, and he's running a different program, but he's got, 10-second videos that are like for Valentine's Day, like one that looks like it's a fish tank with fish swimming around in it, and he'll put the temperature on there. Is there anything like that that you can get for this sign or download?
Let me go and see here. We have like an animated disc. It's like a separate disc, like an animation library.
Uh-huh.
So if you were to contact your dealer, they probably could get that for you. That's probably what he's using.
Okay, so I just need to contact the dealer and they'll give me all the information on that?
Yeah, like an animation library disc, which we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions?
I have a quick one on the temperature. You were talking about get the temperature. Is that to see real-time temperature? Could you just... Okay, hold on. Set temperature.
Go to command and set temperature setting.
Right.
And what it is you hit get, so that's a real-time temperature, what it's reading at the moment.
Oh.
I'm not connected to it right now, but that's how it works. It hits get, it'll tell you the current temperature, what it's reading.
Oh.
You can set the offset to it if you wanted to.
So you're saying if you had a real-time, if you had a sign connected to your PC right now, it would show you the actual temperature the sign is showing.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good. And the offset, I understand. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I have one more. When you preview all, let's say you previewed all these now, it's not really going to show the date, the temperature, the date, time, or it might show the default temperature because what your software doesn't know the temperature.
Right. The temperature reads off the temperature sensor, and you're just doing a preview all of what you're going to be sending out there. So the tokens, once you put it out there, it'll read off the hardware and then give you the correct temperature.
Right, but what I'm saying now is if you hit preview all now, what will it give you? It would give you the today's date. Right. It's not going to give you. It's not going to really. It's a schedule. You're not really. It's not going to give you the preview.
Yeah, just give you a preview of the files that we created, and it'll give you the token placeholders. So let's say it'll give you today's date. That's correct. It'll give you today's time. That's correct. But the temperature, it'll say like 77 degrees.
Right, because, okay. Right, that's what I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Those are the blank messages.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that this actually plays the schedule because I'm familiar with other LED software and many LED manufacturers do not really allow you to show the schedule. You can show files, you can preview. It's because, many people schedule things for different times, so
Yeah.
this is pretty good.
It's giving you a preview of everything that you put out there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, and so I'm still not seeing the date and time, right? Did you see
No, it's on it's number 4 right now. So number 5 is going to do it. There you go.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, so 77 is right. Okay. It's California time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Very good. Thank you. I'm set.
Okay, do you guys have any other questions?
Can you give us any more hints on how to get a clearer JPEG, or does it work better if you take a JPEG and turn it into a bitmap? Do you get clear graphics that way?
No, I think it's about the same. The best thing to do is some people like to use Paint and kind of scale it down. So if you have your image, let's say 1 megapixel, you could go to open it through Paint and kind of scale it down by percentage. So you can do 50% scaling.
Okay. And that gives you an opportunity to get better detail.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
you
you
can,
also, go ahead.
yeah, you could scale it down by percentage and shrink it down so it's close to your matrix size as possible.
Okay. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. Just trying to kind of scale it down so it meets your matrix size, and then you can kind of import it to see how it looks.
Okay, we'll give it another shot.
I have one more thing. Earlier, when you exported the ME3 into an OPV, there was a drop-down with many options, and you chose the MS Video 1, and I'm just wondering why. I didn't want to interrupt you at that point. Why did you change that to the Microsoft Video on that particular one?
This is a recommended one. We tried different ones before because that's what's available on my computer as far as codecs.
Okay.
You could try different ones to see how it works for you, but Microsoft Video 1 is just like a plain AVI OPV file, so that usually works the best one out of all the ones we have available.
Okay, so you are converting when you create your own. It's an ME3, and that gets converted to OPV. Is it an OPV or is it an AVI?
It's an OPV file or OPTEX file. Yeah.
Gotcha. But of course you can import AVIs.
Yeah, you could use AVI.
Gotcha. I'm all set. I'm all set. Thanks. That was very good. Thanks, Jonathan.
No, yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
There's quite a week now.
Yeah.
I have no life.
Do you have any more questions or anything? Anybody else have any other questions?
Nope, thank you.
Okay.
I'm all set. I know us, right? Well, I'm all ready.
Yeah, if everything's good, then you should be okay. You guys are always welcome to call in. If you guys have any questions or join in one of our webinars again, it's basically the same thing.
Okay, good.
Okay?
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Okay, you guys have